Can't let it happen again.
In the quiet corners of ordinary lives, the dead don't always stay silent. They reach out, hungry for the living. In a small town called Riverdale, there lived a man named Jack Thompson. He was 45 years old with gray hair starting to show. Jack worked as a teacher at the local school. He lived alone in an old house that his family had owned for many years. The house was big, with creaky floors and dusty rooms. Jack liked it that way. It was quiet, and he could read his books in peace. One night, Jack sat in his living room. The clock showed 10 p.m. Rain fell hard outside, tapping on the windows like fingers. Jack heard a knock at the door. It was soft at first, then louder. He thought it was the wind, but the knock came again. Who could it be at this hour? He got up and opened the door. There stood an old woman. She was wet from the rain, her clothes, old and torn. Her face was pale with deep lines. "Can I come in?" she asked. Her voice was weak like a whisper. Jack felt sorry for her. "Sure, come in," he said. He led her to the kitchen and gave her a towel. The woman sat down. "My name is Emily," she said. "I used to live here long ago." Jack was surprised. "This house?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes, before your family. It was mine." Jack made her some tea. They talked. Emily told stories about the town from years past. How the river flooded once and how people danced at festivals. Jack listened. It was nice to have company, but as the night went on, something felt wrong. Emily's eyes looked empty sometimes, like glass, and when she smiled, her teeth seemed too sharp. Jack asked, "Why are you here now?" Emily leaned close. "I need help," she said. "Something bad happened to me in this house. I can't rest." Jack felt a chill. The rain stopped, but the air was cold. Emily stood up. "Follow me," she said. She walked to the basement door. Jack had not gone down there in years. It was full of old boxes, but he followed. The stairs creaked. In the basement, Emily pointed to a wall. "Dig here," she whispered. Jack grabbed a shovel from the corner. He started digging. The dirt was soft. Soon he hit something hard. It was a box. Inside were old bones. "Those are mine," Emily said. Her voice changed, deeper now. Jack turned. Emily was not old anymore. Her skin was rotting, her eyes glowing. "You let me in," she laughed. "Now you stay with me." Jack screamed, but the basement door slammed shut. Darkness came. That was the end of Jack. The town looked for him, but he was gone. The house stood empty after that. In Riverdale, just a few miles from Jack's old house, lived Sarah Miller. She was 32, a single mom who worked at the local diner. Her life was plain, serving coffee, wiping tables, and raising her 10-year-old son, Ethan. The town was small, with one grocery store, a church, and a park where kids played. Everyone knew each other. Sarah liked that. It felt safe. Every year, Riverdale held a festival called the Harvest Supper. It was a big deal. People brought pies, casseroles, and meats to share in the town hall. This year, Sarah was excited because Ethan wanted to help cook. They spent all day making a stew. Ethan stirred the pot, smiling. "This is going to be the best," he said. Sarah hugged him. At the festival, the hall was packed. Tables were covered with food, roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and strange cuts of meat no one could quite name. The mayor, Mr. Grayson, gave a speech about tradition. "Riverdale stays strong because we share," he said. Everyone clapped. Sarah noticed the meat on her plate tasted odd, tough but sweet. She ate anyway. Everyone did. That night, Ethan woke up screaming. "Mom, I saw something!" he cried. Sarah ran to his room. "What, honey?" she asked. Ethan's eyes were wide. "In the park, during the festival, I saw Mr. Grayson and some men. They were carrying a big bag to the woods. It moved, Mom. like something was alive inside. Sarah hugged him. "Just a bad dream," she said, but she felt uneasy. The next day, Sarah asked her friend Linda, who worked at the butcher shop, about the meat at the festival. Linda's face went pale. "Don't ask about that," she whispered. "Just eat and be happy." Sarah frowned. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Ethan's story. At 2 a.m., she grabbed a flashlight and went to the woods, behind the park. The woods were dark, the air thick with fog. Sarah found a clearing. There was a pit, freshly dug. She shined her light inside. Bones. Not animal bones, human ones. Her stomach turned. She heard footsteps behind her. It was Mr. Grayson and 2 other men. "Sarah, you shouldn't be here," Grayson said. His voice was calm, too calm. "We do what we do to keep the town alive. The harvest supper isn't just food, it's sacrifice." Sarah tried to run, but the men grabbed her. "You ate," Grayson said. "You're one of us now." Sarah screamed, but the woods were silent. The next day, Ethan waited for his mom. She never came home. At the next harvest supper, a new stew was served. No one asked where it came from. In Riverdale, Clara Evans lived in a small apartment above the town's only bookstore. She was 28, pregnant, and alone. Her husband left. When he found out about the baby, Clara didn't mind too much. She liked her quiet life, reading books and stacking shelves. But lately she felt watched, not by people but by something else. Her apartment was cozy, with old wooden floors and one big window facing the street. At night, Clara would sit by the window, rubbing her belly, talking to her unborn baby. "We'll be okay," she'd whisper. But for weeks, strange things happened. Her keys would move from the counter to the couch. Her coffee mug slid across the table when she wasn't looking. At first, she thought she was tired, maybe forgetting things. Pregnancy made her foggy. One night, Clara woke up at 3 a.m. The air was heavy, like someone was breathing nearby. She turned on the lamp. Nothing. But then she saw it. A shadow on the wall. It wasn't hers. It was small, like a child's, but twisted with long arms. Clara froze. The shadow moved, crawling up the wall, then vanished. Her heart raced. "It's just my mind," she told herself. The next day, Clara asked her neighbor, Mrs. Porter, if she'd seen anything odd. Mrs. Porter was old, with sharp eyes. "This town's got shadows," she said. "Old ones. They don't like new life." Clara laughed nervously. "You mean ghosts?" Mrs. Porter didn't smile. "Don't let it touch you," she said. Clara tried to ignore it, but the shadows kept coming. At night, they danced on her walls, even with no light to cast them. She heard whispers, like a child saying, "Stay." Objects moved more. Her baby's crib, still unbuilt in its box, rocked on its own one night. Clara started locking her door and windows, but it didn't help. She stopped sleeping, her eyes red from fear. One evening, Clara felt a kick from her baby. She smiled, but then the room went cold. The shadow was back, bigger now, standing in the corner. It had no face, just a black shape with arms reaching out. "Leave me alone!" Clara screamed. The shadow didn't move. Instead, her belly ached, sharp and wrong. She clutched it, crying. The shadow whispered, "Mine." Clara ran to the hospital. The doctor said her baby was fine, but Clara wasn't. Sure. When she got home, the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. The crib was built, standing in the middle of the room. Clara hadn't touched it. She moved out the next day, leaving everything behind. No one saw her in Riverdale again. The apartment stayed empty. But at night, people walking by said they saw a small shadow in the window, waiting. In Riverdale, Mary Collins worked as a homemaid. She was 25, tired, and always late. Her job was to care for old folks who couldn't manage alone. Her newest client was Mr. Harold Grant, 82, who lived in a small house at the edge of town. Harold was quiet, with cloudy eyes and shaky hands. He didn't talk much, just sat in his armchair, staring at old photos. Mary's job was simple: cook, clean, give Harold his pills. But she wasn't good at it. She'd forget his medicine, leave dishes in the sink, or scroll her phone while Harold mumbled to himself. His house was old, with peeling wallpaper and a locked room upstairs Mary was told never to open. "That's private," Harold said once, his voice sharp. One afternoon, Mary was late again. She found Harold in his chair, muttering, "She's waiting." Mary ignored him, thinking he was confused. She made him soup, but it was cold. Harold didn't eat. That night, Mary stayed over because a storm hit. The wind howled and the power flickered. Around midnight, she heard footsteps upstairs. Heavy, ones like boots. Harold was asleep downstairs. She checked. Mary grabbed a flashlight and went up. The footsteps stopped at the locked room. She tried the door. It was stuck. "Hello?" she called. No answer. But then a woman's voice whispered through the door, "Let me out." Mary's hands shook. She ran downstairs and woke Harold. "Who's in that room?" she demanded. Harold's eyes were wide. "My sister, Rose," he said. "She died 50 years ago." Mary didn't believe him. But the next day, she found a key in Harold's drawer. She went to the locked room and opened it. Inside was dust, a broken mirror, and a bed with old sheets. A photo on the wall showed a young woman who looked like Harold. Rose. That night, Mary heard the voice again. "You forgot me," it said. The mirror in the room cracked. Mary saw a face in it. Not hers, but Rose's, pale and angry. Mary stopped going to Harold's house. She told her boss she was sick. A week later, Harold was found dead in his chair, his eyes open, staring at the ceiling. The locked room was open, the bed empty. Mary never went back to Riverdale. People said the house was quiet now, but some swore they heard a woman's voice at night, asking to be remembered. In Riverdale, 19-year-old Tom Harris worked at the town's only grocery store, Miller's Market. It was a boring job, stocking shelves, sweeping floors, and ringing up customers. Tom was saving for college, so he worked late shifts, often alone. The store was old, with flickering lights and a back room that smelled like damp wood. Tom didn't mind. He liked the quiet. One night, Tom was stacking cans in aisle 3 when he heard a noise. A low hum, like someone singing softly. He checked the store. No one was there. The hum stopped. He shrugged and kept working. But then, a can fell off the shelf behind him. He picked it up, but another fell. Then another. Tom's heart beat faster. "Who's there?" he called. Silence. The next night, it happened again. This time he heard whispers, like voices talking too low to understand. They came from the back room. Tom grabbed his flashlight and went to check. The back room was full of boxes and old shelves. In the corner, he found a small tin box he'd never seen before. Inside was a locket with a photo of a young girl, maybe 10 years old. Her eyes seemed to stare at him. Tom asked his boss, Mr. Miller, about the locket. "Never seen it," Mr. Miller said, but his face looked nervous. "Don't mess with old stuff in this store." Tom put the locket back, but that night, the whispers were louder. "Find me," they said. He checked the back room again. The locket was on the floor now, open. The girl's photo was gone. Tom started seeing things. Shadows moved in the aisles when the store was empty. Cans would be stacked in weird patterns when he opened in the morning. One night he saw the girl from the locket standing at the end of aisle 5. She was pale, her dress old and dirty. She pointed to the back room. Tom didn't follow. He locked the store and ran home. The next day, Tom quit. He told Mr. Miller he was sick. A week later, the store closed for good. People said it was losing money, but some noticed strange things. Cans falling at night, whispers from the back room. Tom moved away from Riverdale. He never told anyone about the girl, but he kept the locket. Sometimes at night he heard her whisper, "You didn't find me." In Riverdale, the Parker family lived in a 2-story house near the town square. David Parker, 40, was a mechanic. His wife, Lisa, 38, taught piano lessons. Their daughter, Mia, 15, spent most of her time reading or texting friends. The house was old but cozy, with squeaky stairs and a big attic they never used. The Parkers had lived there for 2 years, moving from the city for a quieter life. Riverdale seemed perfect, small, friendly, ordinary. One morning, Mia noticed something odd. On the living room wall, faint words were scratched into the paint. "We see you." She showed her parents. David thought it was a prank. "Probably Mia's friends," he said, laughing. Lisa wasn't sure. The words were too high up for Mia to reach. They painted over them, but the next day the words were back, deeper, like carved with a knife. Strange things kept happening. At night they heard footsteps in the attic. David checked, but it was empty, just boxes and dust. Mia's books would open on their own, pages flipping to stories about ghosts. Lisa's piano played soft notes when no one was near it. The family tried to ignore it, but Mia was scared. "This house hates us," she whispered one night. David decided to investigate. He asked around town. Old Mr. Jenkins, who ran the hardware store, knew the house's history. "Used to belong to the Carver family," he said. "They vanished in the 70s. Folks said they did bad things. Rituals, maybe. Never found them." David didn't believe in rituals, but he felt uneasy. One night, Mia woke to scratching sounds. She followed them to the attic door. It was open, though David always locked it. She climbed the stairs, her phone's flashlight shaking in her hand. In the attic, the walls were covered in words. "Stay with us. Join us." The air was cold and Mia saw shapes, shadowy figures with no faces, standing in the corners. She ran downstairs, screaming. David and Lisa heard her and rushed up. The attic was empty, but the words were still there. David grabbed a hammer and tore into the wall. Behind it was a hidden space, small and dark. Inside were old photos, candles, and a book with names, hundreds of them, some crossed out. The last name was Carver. Below it, freshly written, was Parker. That night the house shook. Doors slammed. The shadowy figures appeared again, now in every room. "You found us," a voice whispered, coming from everywhere. Lisa grabbed Mia and ran for the door, but it wouldn't open. David tried breaking a window, but the glass wouldn't crack. The shadows closed in, their hands cold and heavy. The next morning, the Parker house was silent. Neighbors knocked, but no one answered. The door was unlocked, the house empty. The attic was clean. No words, no hidden room. The Parkers were gone, like the Carvers before them. Riverdale moved on, but some said the house still whispered at night, calling for new names to write on its walls.